What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Talking Trash Podcast, episode 14, and we have a special, not guest, a co-host with us. The man, the myth, the legend. I used to call him Winger, but now, thanks to the Netflix documentary, he is the wing nut himself, or Wing Kong, Brad Wingfield. How you doing, big guy?
I'm doing great. It's awesome to be here and chatting with you, so looking forward to it.
Oh, man, it is crazy. Like I said, I picked you and your lovely wife, Sarah, up. Sarah hasn't aged in 20 years, by the way. I mean, I'm just like, it's like 2004, you know what I mean? She looks exactly the same. You're a lucky guy.
Yeah, she looks good, and I think that somehow she's given me her aging.
No, you look great.
I do? Oh.
You look awesome, man.
You look the same to me.
Yeah, well, it's the hair. I've gotten older, but I still got my hair, thank God, but it's going gray. But
it looks like your Trasher necklace shrank, though.
It did shrink. I tried to get away with what we used to have in 04, but it just, at almost 38, it doesn't work. No. I figured I'd be wearing those jerseys forever, but folks, this is an absolute honor. This is my brother. Now, you'll notice absent today is our boy Diamond Hands. He's actually on the road. They're playing home today. So we're recording today. He's actually playing tonight. So he's got bigger business to handle. He obviously sends his regards. But we're here. He's here in spirit. Like I said, grab that new Diamond Hands Daniel Amesbury shirt, 500 level. We will put the link in the bio and everything like that. So
hey, I'd like to send a shout out to Diamond Hands. Yeah. Okay, good luck tonight, kid. Give him all you got.
Listen, when I met Diamond Hands, okay? When I met him, God, it feels like years ago, but it's really been only, 2 years maybe? And just about 2 years I met him.
I was there with you.
Yes, but when I met him originally, like through Instagram and stuff, I just got to talking to him and I was like, man, this guy reminds me of Winger. We just hit it off, and I was like, man, this guy, and when I met him and moved to Danbury. His wife is exactly like Sarah. I was just telling my wife Kim that. I was like, it's the weirdest. He's got now he's got 3 kids. I'm like, this is like, he's like a time traveler. I'm like, Winger and you guys would have been besties. You know what I mean? You guys would have been best friends coming up. He probably wishes he was coming up when you did, because now he's like, we've talked about it. He's like, he's a different breed. Oh. He's like your guys' breed, you and Marasti and all the guys you and Sean Legault were teammates, correct?
Yeah, good friends.
You guys could have been a lot like that. I mean, I've always said Ames could have been a Trasher, and he would have fit in perfectly.
And you know what? And for him to do it nowadays, it's a lot tougher for him than we had it. It was just sort of how everything was back in the day. So I feel for Amesy and Diamond Hands, and I couldn't imagine trying to do his job today in today's game.
He is, like he always says, I have no dimmer. I'm on, and that's it. And that's how you played, and we're gonna get to that, obviously. I mean, but the parallels between you two are so weird. And like you said, he's doing it in a time where it's such a different game, faster game, more dependent on skill. But and we're going to get to this later, I'm still a firm believer, and I want to get your input because we got a lot of big news about what you're doing nowadays. I want to get your input, like just how important that grit is still important to me. And we're going to get there, but I like I said, guys, if you haven't checked out Netflix, Untold Crime and Penalties, a story on the Danbury Trashers, you got to check it now. You're going to see why this man is an absolute legend, legendary hockey player. If you don't know, you're going to find out real soon. And I always tell people, like, our history, the lure of the Trashers, the story, it's funny about stories, as it goes on, things sometimes modify. Sometimes people tell the story and it could be a little tweak off here and there. The whole thing is everyone thought that Brent Gretzky was our first signing. And I think he was the first player we announced, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For marketing purposes, and he was a good player for our league at the time. But you were actually the first person I remember where I was when we found out about you, and we were told this is the guy. Like, for what you guys are trying to build, my father and I, they're like, this is the man right here. And What do you remember about like initially like hearing about us? Because obviously I don't know. I mean, it's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny story. And I got to thank, and I don't think I've ever got a chance to do it, but to thank T-Bone and Tommy Pomposello is the man that brought me to your guys' attention. And that was because he was with the New Haven Knights when I was in Elmira, and I hated his guts. And I don't think he liked me much either. And we battled, and he's an equipment manager. I remember trying to sucker punch him on the bench, and so pretty cool. And so a shout out to Tommy T-Bone for getting me to you guys. So anyways, obviously us not getting along when he was with the Knights, this guy calls me up in the summer and says who it is. And I'm like, is this the equipment guy from New Haven? You got a fucking team where? Like, what? And it didn't go so well. I remember laughing, and I think I hung up. He was persistent. He called back the next day and says, listen, this Jimmy, I got a guy, Jimmy's going to call you. I'm like, oh yeah, Jimmy, Jimmy. Okay, there, T-Bone.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, the next day I get a call from what sounds like, I can tell, I've never saw the man.
Yeah.
But just his voice and demeanor on the phone, Jimmy Galante gave me a call, and I could tell it's pretty serious right off the bat.
He's got a very, I'm not a Star Wars fan, but he has a Darth Vader style, like, he's got a presence, like even the phone. Like I used to, sometimes when you pick up, back in the day, when you pick up the phone, you don't know where it's going, but a very Darth Vader, like, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's like you can feel the force through the phone. I'm not even shitting you.
I know. Believe me, I know.
And so Jamie finally talks to me and says, "Oh, well, I'm going to send you 2 tickets for you and your wife Sarah." And oh yeah, sure. And I'm not even kidding you. The next day, these tickets show up at our door, and I said to Sarah, "I guess we're going to Danbury, Connecticut, wherever that is."
Yeah.
And we were on a plane, and man, the rest is really history. But I remember the first time meeting Jimmy Galante, and it was just awesome.
Oh man! So let's before we get a little bit more into the Trasher stuff, let's talk about because when we met you, essentially, you already had a rep. You were a veteran. You had been around the block and then some. Where did you start out, your pro career? Like where I was looking at your hockey DB, but now I forget. Where did you start?
Pro? There's a brand new league in the Western Professional Hockey League based in Texas, and I got to try out there after I aged out in the BC Hockey League Junior A back home in British Columbia. And honestly, when I first went to this tryout, I thought I was going to Waco. This team was called Central Texas. I didn't even know the name of the team. I just knew I was flying to Texas somewhere, and so I was getting on a bus. And I remember people asking me, "Where are you going to play?" I'm like, well, I don't even know. So I was just going on this tryout, and I got on a bus. I was just turned 21, and I remember fighting for 14 days straight.
Oh my God!
And for every day, sometimes twice a day, and it was wild. They pretty early on in my tryout, they offered to sign me, and it kind of blew me away. But I was getting the job done.
And what year was that?
1996.
Okay. Wow. I mean, it's crazy. Me and Amesy were talking about it last week. I think it was. Was it last week or one of the episodes? We were really talking about how even training camp is different. You know what I mean? Like you guys were fighting every day. Fight for your life. Fight for a job. And I guess you don't, look, I've been out of the loop for a long time. I guess you don't really see that anymore. I mean, we kind of know where the game's going, but I mean, kind of describe what was it like as a 20, I'm thinking about 21 years old. I mean, that's got to be a grind. You know what I mean? Like take us through, because again, you're the real deal when it comes to like if they got like hockey fight, I don't care about the prototypical NHL guy you hear about all the time. I'm telling you, you're on the Mount Rushmore for me for hockey enforcers. Like at the time, mid to late 90s, what was that like? What was the emotion like? Were you ever, I don't want to say scared, because I know you're not scared of anything, but were you anxious? What was it like? I mean, I think a lot of people are so interested to know that type of thing. Like what goes through a guy like yours mind, knowing, and again, we'll get to the other stuff you could do on the ice, but that whole aspect, like how tough was it?
Yeah, no, for sure. When I was young, it was very nerve-wracking, and it was hard to remain calm or fall asleep at night. And but when I was first off a rookie, is I knew I had to give everything I had because I didn't have nothing else to go back and do, like no career, no education to go to no university, and it was either this or who knows. And I was always been a fighter, and so I just let it fly. And like I said, I fought for 14 days straight. And but definitely, as I got older, it would be easier to put my mind to rest. And you become a veteran of the game. But there's still those big matches that are blown out and are on the front pages of paper when you roll into people's town. I remember rolling in with Elmira as a veteran and rolling into Muskegon and Big Mac, Steve McIntyre.
Oh, yeah.
It's on the front page of the paper. I didn't know nothing about it. I didn't know how they had this kid, and the equipment guy brings me the paper, the heavyweight match. I'm like, well, I guess we're in one tonight, right? And so that gets you the blood going and whatnot. But as I got older and better at it, it was easier to keep my mind at ease and the anxiety off the ice, and that was a lot less. So. It was just a matter of doing it and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I remember it was you specifically who told me, again, I'm a GM of a team, 17, 18 years old. And again, it wasn't all just me. We had a great team, front office. It wasn't just, everyone thinks it was just my sole decision. It wasn't. But I remember, I learned a lot from you. And one of the things I learned from you was, I don't know if you even remember, I don't know who it was. It was a camp guy, and I remember you teaching me, you're like, I want to see who's going to fight here, because that's who's going to fight for us in playoff time. When it gets, when that grind, when you get to the spring, and not so much fight physically. I mean, with fists. I mean, compete. Yes, and that's what it is. And those are the things that, I mean, we'll get to it, but I don't know if it's like that anymore. And how do you know when the pressure gets there, who's gonna break and who's gonna compete? Well,
one thing I'll tell you right now for today's comparison, I couldn't help you. I don't. Yeah. I know it's like that. So I can only tell you about my own experience and tried, tested, and true. So that's what we want to see what they can do now for if they're going to be able to do it later.
So you get a job at 21, basically. You're playing in Texas, and then. Eventually, I know you got up to the American League. Where were some of the travels you took, throughout your career?
Yeah, I played my first year in Central Texas, so I think I only got in about 35 games, enough to be classified the next year as not a rookie. And then I had someone took out my knee and had to get a knee surgery there. It wasn't too bad. I think it was a torn meniscus, so didn't play that many games. I did come back and play some playoff games. We went to the final as a rookie, and we lost in the final, so, that always stings a bit.
Yeah.
But, it was the start of my second year. I was only 22, and I got called up to the International Hockey League. At that time, it was the same level as the American League, both AAA.
Yeah.
And my first fight up there, about my 36th pro game, I fought the reigning heavyweight champion, Louis DeBrusque, was just sent down from Tampa Bay to San Antonio. And so here we got Louis DeBrusque, and he was a beast out there. I remember watching him saying, I want to play like this guy one day. He was not only tough, he was running around, running everyone with hits and actually playing the game. And I knew I wanted to be like that. And I knew if I got a chance that we were going to fight, and we did. And we actually had a really good fight. Long one standing up. No one went down. It was probably a minute long. And,
wow.
But I was like, after that, I was just glad that I lived.
Well, that's one thing I always, again, when I learned about who you were before you came to Danbury, I would study and people would teach you your stamina. Fights nowadays, they're relatively quick, but your stamina always stuck out to me. And I tell boxers now that I deal in the boxing industry, I don't care how hard you could one punch. If you don't have the stamina for 10 rounds, you're in trouble. Just how important is stamina, especially in the old days. Some of these guys who had marathon fights, it's not too far back, but I remember Cam Jansen, a buddy of mine, he always had marathon fights. And
John Morassi.
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right. Morassi used to have just marathon fights, and That's important. A lot of guys don't, they want to lift weights. They think that's going to do something. But they did. Sometimes I see a lot of these young guys, they don't really take advantage of their conditioning,
breathing, staying calm.
Yeah.
That's going to be, and you know what? I actually learned and got better later in life by boxing in the off season. I had a really good boxing coach, Manny Sobero, who was on the Canadian Olympic team at one point boxed at the North Burnaby Boxing Gym, and that's really when it was before I came to you guys, and when my game started to evolve as a on-ice enforcer, and got a lot better through training boxing in the off season. So it's a huge thing to stay calm and breathe. And there was different styles. Morasti was obviously a long fighter, but he punched in the face contest. Where I like to switch hands and mess around and try to play to my style using my strengths instead of playing to the other guy's strengths. And a lot of hand switching and stuff like that.
I mean, listen, guys, if you haven't seen the documentary Untold Crime and Penalties, check it out. But one of the things, I want to talk about different stuff that you can't see on the documentary and things documented on other places. But I'll always remember the 3 fights you had with Matt Goody when he was with Richmond, and they came to Danbury. And I remember he was a young kid. He was younger than you. I remember he was 24. And I remember during warm-ups watching you guys talk, and I was just like, okay, Matt Goody, he was a young, tough guy.
Big guy.
Big boy, yeah. And I just remember you guys fighting 3 times that night, and I have footage of it on my AJ cam. I'm going to have to put it out there, the fight cam there. Yeah. And what a battle you guys had. And we talked about this, me and Amesy talked about it last week about, veteran fighters, younger fighters, passing the baton almost like gaining the respect, because for a young kid like that to fight someone like you at the time, people don't understand the mentality, what a feather in the cap that is. Like you said, fighting Louis DeBrus, that was a passing a baton. And I just remember watching you and Matt Goody, and you definitely got the better of him the 3rd fight, and you actually showed a little mercy to him, because I remember I think you busted his nose pretty good, and I remember you kind of just pointed to the ref like, hey, and I just remember you showing some mercy, and I was just like, man, that's the ultimate respect thing, you know?
He was hungry. He was hungry, and those were very even fights, very heavy fights. I really liked the guy, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he either got a chance with the Providence Bruins or even an NHL trial with Boston after that.
He did. He did get called up, and I remember if there was a 3rd season, I was looking for him, because I'm like, could you imagine Winger, Matt Goody, even Nasty if he was still around? I mean, Nasty was sort of elevating and trying different things, different leagues. He had a lot of people wanting him. So I was like, man, if we lose Morasti, man, could you imagine Matt Goody? And he could play a little like you. And this is what I try to tell people is, you YouTube or Google Brad Wingfield, you're going to see fights and this and that. But honestly, I tell people, we talked about this in the car, you have to this day, I've never seen a guy live with a better snapshot than you. And I remember that first year before you got injured, you were putting up some points. Yeah. Half that season, you were putting up video game numbers between like penalty minutes and points.
Yeah. That was I played 20 games, which is a quarter of the 80-game season that year, and I was on pace for 28 goals.
Yeah,
and it would have been over 800 penalty minutes.
I mean, it would have been absolutely absurd. And it's funny because I've played that game a million times since the Trashers. I used to look at your hockey DB, because I mean, you had a crazy year one year in Elmira. I think you had over 500 PIMs maybe, and you put up points. I mean, I tell people, don't let the fighting and everything overshadow the type of player you were. And it's crazy. Like I said, you throw the body. I mean, it was just, you were the perfect trasher and like the perfect enforcer. I mean, was your snapshot your favorite shot?
Yeah, I take great pride in that shot, and I worked on that for many, many hours off the ice as well as on the ice. And they talk, Connor Bedard, he's obviously a superstar and all that stuff, but changing the angle, and I've been changing the angle and shooting in stride, shooting through screens my entire life. And it's just funny that it's such a big deal now, but we even my company with Shazi and Holly, new angle, change the angle.
Yeah.
Whether that's a punch or whether that's a shot, we want to come from different angles.
Who would have thought tough guys? That was a smart thing to name. You see that? You guys are smart guys. You see, Shawzy was tough too. We talked about that.
Right. What about Hallway?
Oh yeah, I mean, so you guys got some brains too. Everyone's talking about you
got this fantasy trasher team, and I don't see my partners Chris Shaw, Ryan Hallwig on it, and it's a little disappointing to tell you the truth.
Listen, I had to. You got to understand. Everyone thinks we have duffel bags of cash still. So when I make these graphics, I have to pay someone. So I have a queue, right? So I have a list, and they're on the list. It's just I try to do something now, and they're hearing Mike Rupp saying to Doc, well, we're paying in duffel bags of cash. So it's been tough.
Yeah,
but trust me, they're coming. Don't worry.
Hey, way to go, Rupper. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
Rupp, thanks, bro.
Oh, man. Speaking of fights, I mean, another thing that, when we were being persuaded to sign you, I remember someone showed me a VHS back in the VHS days, okay? This St. Patrick's Day Massacre.
Yeah.
Do you guys YouTube's Brad Wingfield and
Steve Parsons?
Steve Parsons, okay? American Hockey League, the bare-chested brawl, St. Patrick's Day Massacre. You remember what year? I don't remember. What year was that when that happened? Do you remember?
Ooh,
early 2000s?
I'm going to go with 03.
Okay. It was before the Trashers. I remember that.
02, 03, somewhere in there.
Now, you were up in American Hockey League, so you were at Syracuse, right?
Yeah, that's right.
He's who, Rochester?
No, he's Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. Okay. Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, well, me and Steve go way back. We used to play against each other in minor hockey. He was in Squamish, and I was in the Sunshine Coast, and we battled there. And then he was in the BC League in one of our rivals when I was in the British Columbia Hockey League. And he's a big dude. He's a tough dude, and he scared a lot of guys. And not to say I respect him, but I wasn't scared of him. I knew him, and I was called up, and he was up there, and we just do what two tough guys do, and he obliged me, and I think he did want to play a little bit that game, but I was there to try to earn a job, and he obliged, and the rest is history. And I when I go to Calgary, I hook up with Steve, and we talk every St. Patrick's Day all day long through text and whatnot. So great dude, and it's always like that. These tough guys that you meet fighting, they're like your best friends.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I remember, and I said this on the pod, I don't know how many times. I always told you, I grew up, I didn't play high level of hockey. When we got the team, I was afforded this opportunity to be the GM or whatever. I learned so much through you. And one thing I always learned was, as a kid growing up in Danbury, right? We're not a hockey hotbed in the 90s. So I'm watching guys in the NHL fight and thinking guys legitimately hate each other. And you get some of that sometimes.
That's right.
But you taught me the enforcer code and just everything that goes through it. And like you said, hey, guys at the end of his shift, maybe all these little nuances people don't understand. And like you said, Parsons gave you a chance in a way. You know what I mean? And people don't understand these things. And I just remember I got to give you so much credit because you really taught me, because I went in, everyone was our enemy, which was natural. Yeah. But I'm thinking, if you're fighting Matt Goody, I hate Matt Goody. But no, you taught me, no, Matt Goody's a good kid. Yeah. And I learned a lot. And, it's just, it's funny to watch because, like you said, Louis DeBrus, you were coming up watching guys and then getting a chance to prove yourself. And then you were doing, it's on the back end, the same thing. And Amesy talks about it all the time, too. He's in his mid-30s now, and he's such a unique situation, being off for so long, coming back. Everyone thinks he's a rookie or something. He's not. He's been in the game for a while, and but it's so funny. But you're one of the toughest guys I know, but you've mellowed out a little. I know St. Patrick's Day, you got under Steve Parsons' skin. This wasn't a normal fight, okay? So don't lie to the don't not that you're lying. Don't tell the people, we had a good fight. He's a good guy. We talk. You tweaked him. What did you do to Steve Parsons? And now go on YouTube, people, and watch this fight, because if you're telling me you tweaked Steve Parsons, what happened? Because it didn't just stop at the fight. You guys were on the ground.
At the end there.
And
Steve.
Well, how did you guys get without jerseys on at that point?
Yeah.
Just trying to break away, or?
What happened there is I already fought Steve twice. And so with 3 fights in pro hockey, you're kicked out anyways. And so I had a problem with John Jacopin, huge defenseman that played for the Penguins, huge dude. And anyways, we got going at it, me and Jacopin, and we talked about the code for the enforcers. And we had actually hit the ice, and he tried to sucker me on the ice. So as soon as I saw that, all the respect was gone. And I was quicker to get to my feet, and I knocked him out when he was on his knees. He was out cold. And Steve, being a good guy, he jumped off the bench with a couple of their players, so we were outnumbered. And I got dogpiled on, and the linesman ended up taking Parsons away. And so he was trying to get his jersey off to get away from them. And I didn't have any linesmen on me, and I know how hard it is to fight a guy when his jersey's off and yours is on. So I had no one impinging me or stopping me from coming. So I took that sucker off right away and got ready for him. And finally he got his stuff off. The linesman couldn't hold him. We went, and we were both so dog tired at that point. It's our fourth fight of the night, mine and his third.
Oh my God. I didn't realize you guys had fought that many times already. Wow.
And so we got at it. Finally we hit the ice. Well, Steve decided to stick his fingers in my mouth. So,
well, hey.
What do you do when someone sticks something in your mouth you don't want there? Is I bit him. And then I might have reached on a part of his body, and we call it a gumball machine. You just make a little twist there.
You've done that to me a few times.
You grab wherever you can reach with that, and you give it a twist, and pretty funny. Steve apologized for sticking his fingers in my mouth, and I apologized for biting him, and that's that. But another thing about that story is no one, everyone's forgets or doesn't realize is that even though I had 4 fights, I still hold the Syracuse club record for most penalty minutes in a game. It was 45, but I still had time to score the game-winning goal.
Unbelievable.
So I have 4 fights, 45 minutes, and the game winner.
That's what I love about this is, you just see one part of a story. You know what I mean? That game, everyone's talking about that exact brawl or fight, but there's so much other things that went into it. And that gumball machine move, I remember, when you used to do that to me?
Yeah. Probably when I was beating you at NHL hockey.
See, you saw it coming. Guys, Brad Wingfield unfortunately suffered a pretty bad injury the first year of the Trashers, and he rehabbed a little bit. He stayed at my house for a little while. Yeah. And he became basically a big brother. And, we had always a great, you and my, your relationship with my dad, it's always been a father-son thing. And you were like an older brother to me. And older brothers, fight sometimes. And listen, I'm smart enough to know I'm not going to try to fight this man in real life. So I would have to do the next best thing. And I would beat him unmercifully sometimes in NHL. I think 05, 06. He would always be the Vancouver Canucks with the Sedin twins. And he couldn't stop my Devils. And I remember you getting so mad once, and you did that Steve Parsons gumball machine to me, and I'll never forget it. All you young fighters out there, you can learn a few tricks here and there because that thing hurts. That gumball machine, that hurt.
Crab pincher, whatever you want, gumball machine.
No, gumball machine is it. That's
just for the record, though, that wasn't particularly made for Steve or anything like that. That's one I used on a few guys.
Oh, I know. I know. Usually, if you watch old fights of you, when you guys go to the ground, usually you would land on top, and then what I would do is watch the other guy's skates. And if they start really doing the scissors, I know you got the gumball on them.
Something going on there.
Oh man, injuries obviously well documented on Netflix. The unfortunate leg injury. How many injuries do you estimate? I know you said in the documentary, but how many injuries you think you suffered in your career?
Yeah, I know. At that time when we did the filming for the doc on Netflix, I was at about 19 surgeries, and I've had 2 more, so I'm at 21 now. And oh man, I honestly don't know. I've had 21 surgical surgeries to repair my body, and obviously I'm not. Sometimes of the year in some weather conditions, I'm not feeling the greatest, but I have learned. I bought a Peloton bike and try to work out a little bit here. And motion is lotion. Sometimes you get busy or when I coach a lot, I stand on cold benches, and you can really feel that go through your body. And I'm definitely pretty beat up, and there's nothing I wouldn't change or go back and not do. But I'm going to live with that the rest of my life.
Well, you're a warrior, through and through. And we just talked about Netflix. We talked a little bit with your wife, Sarah, on the way here. Do you think Netflix, I don't want to, I got to be careful how I say things. I'm not trying to act anything that I am, but I feel like that documentary changed my life in so many different ways. Not like completely. I'm still the same person I've always been and always will be. But for you, you were a focal point and a star of this documentary. Like, what, if anything, has changed since the documentary for you? Everyone, once a day asks about you. You still talk to Winger and this? I'm like, of course, it's my brother. And how, like, when we talk about like when you get noticed, like how funny isn't that funny? Like how it works out in the end, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny for sure. I obviously get recognized more. I do end up coming out east here in the U.S. quite a bit, once or twice a year, and I find I get recognized more out here than back in Vancouver. And but I was just at my son's hockey playoff game in Campbell River, which is a ways away, last Tuesday, and I'm in Campbell River in hostile territory, and I'm going down to get a drink or whatever, and there I see a Danbury Trasher Wingfield jersey. So I go over and talk to the guy, and he was surprised to see me, and I signed it. We watched the whole game together.
Oh man,
I think it's really cool. I think that. We sort of got a little bit of a celebrity status or looked at like that from the documentary, and then when people when they run into us, we're just normal. I'm just a normal dude, and just like you, and I'm just a normal blue collar guy.
No, and that's what it is. We live in a day and age between social media and everything else. People's attention spans are so low. Like, it's funny. The day before the documentary came out, I remember looking at my wife, Kim, and I was a little anxious about it was coming out. But I was saying to myself, how many people are really going to watch this? And it just went crazy. And I just remember texting you, like, what the hell is going on? And it's funny because I feel like people still today. I mean, I was on Netflix the other day watching something with my niece, and it came up again, trending now, crime and pet. I'm like, people are just discovering, and it's, why I think the Trasher story always has staying powers, because we were just all authentic guys.
Yeah.
We weren't trying to be popular. We weren't trying to be famous. I mean, you watch stuff online now, guys are trying so hard to be celebrities. We were just doing stuff for the fun of it. We would sit there, we would discuss what we're going to do, crazy stuff. I'd be giving you sign language from the box, who to go after, and like, dude, we were just so normal, and I think people appreciate that. And I was at a boxing thing about a year ago, Philadelphia.
Yeah,
tough
town.
Rough town. I love Philly.
Yeah.
Okay, and I was at a boxing event, club show. So it's a lot of adrenaline. There's a lot of tension sometimes at these shows, and a guy comes up to me and is like, "You're the trash guy, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm the trash guy." And I don't, me, I'm like you, I don't beat my chest. I just kind of like, that's me, blah, blah, blah. He goes, "Man, when Wingfield got his get back on that guy, I'll never forget." And people love you. And I'm telling you, the reason is because you're so authentic. You're a regular guy. And people are so shocked. Like when I went to pick you up at the arena today, a guy came over, talked to me, and I'm just a normal, it's like, hey, I'll take a pic. They're afraid to ask you. I'm like, let's do it. You know what I mean? But it's so good because, a guy like you, I think the world needs more guys like Brad Wingfield, because, your career was so storied, and maybe because you weren't in the NHL, it didn't at the time get as much attention as it deserved. But I'm a firm believer in karma, good and bad, and I'm glad 20 years later that this put a highlight on you, because guys like you're an endangered species in this game now. So I've always been, me, I'm a proponent for the tough guy, the enforcer.
Yeah, you are.
And tough is not just, the toughness, I tell people, it's not just about the fighting. It's like you said, forechecking, competing, playing the body. It's not about, everyone thinks it's all about dropping the mitts. Those are guys I've always been attracted to, like wanting, like you said, that's who you want to be in a foxhole with. You know what I mean? Which takes us to now, okay? You are, I'm going to let you tell it, because I love the logo, okay?
Yeah.
You are now a head coach and a GM, the Coastal Tsunami out there. Gibson's, right?
Yeah, Gibson's, BC, were my hometown, so pretty wild. It's almost surreal. I finally got my own team, a real team to run and coach and mentor, and it's honestly, it's surreal too. It's
now, what league is this again, Brad?
Yeah, the Pacific Junior Hockey League, and it's Greater Vancouver area-based league.
It's a high. And didn't Diamond Hands played in that league?
Diamond Hands did,
right?
Yeah. He played 4 years for the Regimental Flames. So,
man, oh man, you would have been recruiting him, because he would have you would have loved that kid
for sure. Stuck in the wrong era, but we still love him.
I'm so excited for you. I remember when you told me the news, I couldn't be, and this is what I say. I tell people all the time, you look at some of the best coaches out there. I'm not talking NHL. The hockey world is bigger than the NHL, people. If you look around and really see what's going on, some of the best coaches are the old tough guys.
So I'll give you my insight into that, because I'm sure it's leading to that. But the tough guys, actually, what we have to do is, when we were playing, we had to pay a lot more attention to the fine details of the game. So you got a 50 goal scorer that doesn't cover something defensively or whatever, no one's going to say boo to him, because we need him to score goals. So when we'd miss a defensive assignment or not understand if we're using a trap in the neutral zone or what forecheck we're using, like, yeah, that's where the coach is going to come down on you and you'll miss ice and stuff like that. So I believe that the tough guys had to know the details of the game better than the very giftedly and skilled guys.
You know, that I never heard of that, and it makes total sense. I had another guy tell me, God, I forget who it was. It was a tough guy, and he told me he believes the reason why a lot of you guys are the best coaches because you always had to put the team first anyway. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, sure. It was a lot of people don't realize you weren't fighting for yourself. You know, you were fighting for the team. But what you just said, I mean, it makes a lot more sense. Yeah. You're right. If the coach is going to yell at someone for blowing something up, they can't go after the skill guy sometimes because it's like, you know, they could walk nowadays, and you know, so we gotta that old loyal dog. Sometimes you kick and kick. No, he's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Yeah,
no, exactly. Too, what you said makes sense. Is it's for the betterment of the team. Yeah, we had to be those guys, being fringe skilled guys at times, and just bread and butter and bringing the grit.
What now? When you guys unveiled, I remember I was watching, and Sarah was sending me pictures and videos. I couldn't get over when you guys unveiled the new team in Gibson's, right? How many people did you draw? It was like, I thought I was watching a minor league. I thought I was watching an AHL game. How many people were at that?
800 to 1,000. That's sold out, and the team's going to do really well there. There's not a whole lot else to do, but it's really in the last 20 years, you know, that's really become really everyone's into hockey and a hockey mindset. And it's going to be the number one show in town. And, you know, I'd just like to say on here, too, if any of you guys want to reach out to AJ, I'm looking for players from the Eastern U.S.
Listen, we were going to talk about this tonight at dinner. This is my brother. So whatever he's doing, I'm doing unofficially, whatever. I mean, whatever we got to do to make the Coastal Tsunami the team, PJHL, right?
PJHL.
And that's a high-level league because I remember Amesy talking about it. It's competitive. I mean, I can't wait to go next fall, hopefully opening night. You guys got to be there. And now, I mean, I love the logo. They're doing everything right. I mean, you could just see it, and you were made for this. You know what I mean? You know, don't give any video game advice. But other than that, you're on the right path. I'm so excited. I just like I said, I just couldn't. I was so happy when I saw the article about you, and when you see that fan support, it's like the best feeling in the world. You know what I mean? And it looked awesome, man. And tell us a little bit. You talked about it briefly. New Angle Hockey, correct?
Yeah. New Angle's a private hockey development company I own with Chris Schaff and Ryan Hallwig. Ryan Hallwig's a former NHLer and New York Ranger.
Yes.
Chris Shaw is a former pro hockey player as well, and he even played against the Trashers with the Elmira Jackals, a big stay-at-home tough guy defenseman, and obviously Ryan Hallwig brought the grit nonstop. So
I mean, who else? I mean, me personally, my son's going to be a year and a half, okay? I got a little soft when he was born, and when I was younger, I figured I want a Wingfield son one day. Now I'm like, who else would you want your kids to learn from? But I mean, not only do you guys have the credentials, but that's the game. Like that's who you want to, guys, all three of you, that's competitors. You know what I mean? At every single level. And I remember Shawzy, what a tough, I remember that first year in Elmira, he was really the only one in Elmira. This guy was going all night long. Yeah. He was a tough son of a gun. And obviously Holwick being so close to New York, I mean, as a Devil fan, I knew him. He was a pain in the ass to play against. But those are the guys you want to learn from. I'm telling you, if you guys are young parents and you want to get your kids involved, especially out there, I mean, this is what it is. And yes, contact us and we'll put more information out about the Tsunami and you know, are you doing, like, how does it work? Do you do tryouts, or how does all of it work with your league? Yeah, we got our inaugural ID camp coming up May 3 to 5 in Gibson's, and this will be just rookies, no veteran junior players, 2009 to 2006 birth year. So, like I was going to say, I'm allowed 6 imports on this team, so U.S. players. Well, listen, guys, this is an opportunity, and I want to learn more about, you know, everything, because we don't want to do anything wrong, Brad. You know, the spotlight, you know, we don't have duffel bags of cash. All that stuff is gone. We're doing everything by the book now, all right? That's right. And we gotta support this team, and you know, I'm excited. I can't wait to hear more about it, and whatever, you know, anything we could do, you know.
Yeah, so
It's a done deal.
any of you guys out there, 2004 to 2006, those are the years we're allowed for imports out there. Reach out to AJ. This is a high-level elite hockey. It's Junior A Tier 2, known as right now in British Columbia in Canada. We're right on the water on the West Coast and a short 40-minute ferry trip from Vancouver, so big city right there. So anyone... I'd like to fill those 6 import spots. I'd love to have you guys reach out. We can check some Instat and some video.
Absolutely. Hit us up, obviously. And we're going to put the link in the bios. Even contact you directly, Winger, and whatever we can do, because I can't wait to get out there. And I know Amesy is too. He's from obviously out there. He can't wait to check it out.
You know, Amesy, Diamond Hands, he actually played on a senior men's team, which is part of the Sunshine Coast. It's in Paul River.
Okay.
Which is another short ferry ride from where I grew up in Gibsons. So, and my wife Sarah is actually originally from Paul River. So we got a little bit of connection there. Be awesome to have you and Amesy.
It's a done deal. Listen, once the schedule comes out, I'm looking at flights. I mean, it's a done deal. I have to support you, whatever you do. You know that. See the family. Speaking of family, I went on his elite prospects the other day. Jacob Wingfield from Danbury, Connecticut. Not a lot of people know that your first son, Jacob, we're going to get to what an unbelievable player he is, and no surprise there, was born in Danbury.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
It's so cool. Like,
I mean, junior hat trick one day or a hat trick. I could see it. I could see it happening. I mean, these things that, Amesy always teaches, Diamond Hands always teaches me to put it into the universe. I could see Jacob Wingfield returning home and, bringing some championships to Danbury with the hat tricks. You never know, man.
Dude, that'd be a dream come true for me to just have him out here playing hockey and close to you guys. And no other place better for Sarah and I to visit than Danbury.
It's been written, man. I mean, I really believe, all these things are not coincidences. You know what I mean? Between the doc coming out, kind of reviving all this. We've always spoken, but we're back close again. And, little Jakey, man, I remember when I have AJ cam footage of him when he was just born. Yeah, I mean, he was at Trasher games way back in the day.
You know what was so cool is when we'd come to the games, Sarah would just drop Jacob off in his little bassinet with Roseanne, your mom, and she would care for him the whole game, and it would let Sarah go and be able to hang out with all the wives and just enjoy the game and be a hockey wife and get that time, a couple hours away from being a new mother. And out here away from not having just our hockey family, not our actual family.
Yeah.
So I think that was a huge thing that always stuck with Sarah and I, and how kind Roseanne was. And
I just remember little Jacob, and I haven't seen her, spoken to him in a while, but it would be unreal for that time to come. And talk to me about Jacob and your other son, obviously too. But Jacob, he's first on the list here. What type of player is Jacob? What's his strengths? What can he work on? What can fans look forward to, seeing from him in the future?
Yeah, first thing right off the hop, I'll just let everyone know, don't expect him to play like me, because it doesn't. He's not like that. He's a lot better hockey player than I was at his age. He's still physical. He'll still defend himself, but he's not going to go out there looking for fights. Yeah. And so in the Junior A League where he plays in and back in Canada, he was actually finished in the top 15 in scoring. There was only 2 2006s, so 2 17-year-olds were in the top 20 scorers. They're all dominated by 20-year-olds, 2003s, 2004s. So he ended up with 28 goals and 53 points and almost 100 penalty minutes. But the real kicker is right now is in the playoffs, Kerry Park Islanders is his team. They got matched up against the top seed and the regular season champions, the Campbell River Storm, in the first round of the playoffs, and no one had them win in that series. And they knocked them out 4-2 in the first round. And, it just keeps surprising me as Jacob scored, he has 6 goals in that series in 6 games, and 3 of them are game winners. He leads the league at his age in playoff scoring, which is where I thought he might struggle because it becomes a heavier man's game in playoffs. And yet the kid just keeps answering the bell and coming through. So very proud of him, and it's almost shocking to see when your son has success like that.
What's his height and weight right now?
Jake's a little bit taller than me, so he's 6'1". He's 180 pounds, and this guy just lives and breathes hockey and works out. That's all. He's
got some size on him.
Yeah, 180s.
Sure. I mean, nowadays that's not anything to sneeze at. So he's I can't wait for, he's going to be back. I could feel it, and I can't wait to watch him and watch him excel.
I got to throw a shout out to his little brother, Jaden.
Of course, yes.
Jaden's a U15. He's a 14-year-old player, but him and his team, the U15A Sunshine Coast Blues, just qualified for the provincial tournament. When we get back from here, he's going to be heading that way up in northern BC in Quesnel.
Wow.
And he's going to be competing for that. So he's holding his own as well, too. And he's playing at a high level, rep level, and we'll see where he gets to one day
Little
as well.
brothers, man, they pick up the youngest siblings. I noticed they soak it all in. They may not. That's great. I can't wait to see both of them, and definitely you guys got to check them out. We'll have to throw their Instagrams if they have them up there. That's what these kids like nowadays.
Yeah,
we got to get
sure.
Jacob and Jaden some followers.
Yeah. They're on there. I don't know their handles.
I'll find them. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. Could you imagine if you had an Instagram when you were younger?
No. All those cameras back in those days. Oh boy.
It's
crazy. We would have got caught for some shenanigans.
It's crazy because I consider myself a tweener, right? I'm going to be 38, and it's like I was raised very old school, and like I couldn't imagine myself as a teenager having Instagram. But at the same time, I realize nowadays how important it is, and even with the boxers I deal with, it's crazy. Like it's crazy how things are. But I love laughing with guys my age or older. Like, could you imagine social media back in the day?
I struggle with the technology, let me tell you. But I do what I can.
Now, as a head coach and as a high-level head coach and a GM, what do you look for player? Like, what type of guy do you want on your team? Like, what do you look for? Like, building a team, like what? I mean, obviously, you don't want to give all your secrets away, but what are you looking for?
Well, here's one thing I can say, kind of generally speaking, but you can't look for all the same players. So if you do that, you're going to be in trouble. So you need to try to find a mix, and it's a fine line. But obviously with me, and I'm still going to go back old school, obviously, they're in this day in junior, there's not a whole lot of fighting, and that's not what we're looking for. But you can still play heavy, you can still finish all your checks, and you can still send messages to people with clean hits. And that's something that I'm going to make sure that we're doing. And that's a great part of the game. And I'll just talk about myself again real quick. But honestly, one of my best attributes as a player was my ability to body check guys.
Yeah.
And not everyone can do that. So you got to be able to move and be mobile and fast, and then be willing to put your body on the line. So as a GM, we want guys that can do that, finish their checks and send messages that way, and just play the game hard. That's what the fans want to see, big hits.
Yes. Well, we talked about it on the ride here, and he's kind of taking the world by storm right now, the hockey world, the Tower of Terror, Matt Rempe. I mean, you talk about a guy right now, he's getting a lot of, notice for the fights, but you see him throw that. He's throwing the body around, and I mean, he has no fear. Because, we talked about it, and I think we're going to get to it shortly, like the mental toughness. The fact that this kid is first game, first shift, drops the gloves with a vet.
Matt Martin.
I mean, outdoor game,
stadium series
60,
game.
70,000 people, whatever it was. I mean, the kid, he rises to the occasion. But again, I look like you. I look for not just the fighting, because let's be honest, how much can he do that? Especially if he gains a rep. Not a lot of guys are going to want to go near him. But he just plays so hard. And it pains me as a Devil fan because he's a Ranger. And I'm just like, God, why does this have to happen? But man, that's the type of guy that, I mean, we talked about it. What's your thoughts on Rempe and what he's been doing? I mean, I guess no matter what, as an old school tough guy, it's got to put a smile on your face.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys what I was just describing him to a friend of mine in a conversation, and I call it a breath of fresh air.
Oh yeah.
So that's what he provides me with in today's game, and you know what? And he's also, it's nice to see these old school guys, like tough guys, Reeves and Martin, Delorier, and they're all stepping up to the new guy. And I see a bunch of stuff on the internet like, oh, Matt Rempe needs to work on this, he needs to work on that. He's not that good. He's 21 years old. He's 21. Can you imagine? He looks like he's doing just fine out there to me. And, imagine in 7, 8, 9 years after he's been doing it this long, how good he will be. So what people got to realize is you get better through experience and through putting your time in. So if he's that good now, he's hanging in there with all the top dogs. Can you imagine in 9 years? 9 years. Wow.
Going back to your career, you talked about 21-year-old kid fighting for a job, and you were fighting 14 days straight. This kid, as tough as he is, the game is different. Just like Diamond Hands, it's tough for him. It's the competition isn't there. So like the repetition and fighting, the experience that comes with live rounds, right? He's not going to get the same chances that you guys got back in the day, because that he's a unicorn right now. But at the same time, like guys 20 years ago was doing this, but because he's such a throwback player, I mean, he's not going to have the chance every night to look down the bench and see 1, 2, 3 guys I could probably. So the fact that he's doing this with not a lot of live rounds in his pocket, I'm really impressed too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what? Just his size and his willingness, it should provide him with all the opportunities and you know what, I've read things or heard things that he's going to learn to have to play the game. Well, we were just talking about how hard he's hitting guys, playing physically. So right there, he can do other things than just fight. I
mean, he's a guy in the playoffs, like you say. You get to those dog days, game 5, game 6. That's a guy you need to put out there, wear down the opposition, just like you. Like a lot of. What advice do you give to young fighters today? What something guys can work on, or an underrated skill? I always tell people, and I never fought, but I always tell people just studying.
Yeah.
Grip strength is something that I think a lot of people don't really take into account. Holding guys. Huge. Imagine trying to hold a Matt Rempe. I mean, you can't, but you know what I mean? Like you were 6 foot. I mean, you are 6 foot.
Yeah. Well, I think I even shrunk a bit.
Did you? Well, listen. I mean,
not a super tall guy.
So when you fought taller guys, for instance, okay, what advice do you give a guy who's at moderate height, just like Amesy, who's around 6 foot?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Amesy will say the same thing. But if I'm fighting a guy with the size of Matt Rempe, you have to be able to throw both hands. Mm-hmm. So you can see how he's stringing guys out, and you have to step inside and switch hands so you can step closer to him. And I'll say one thing, it looks like Rempe does leave himself open for that. We'll see if anyone does it. But if they switch from their right hand and they step in and regrip, and you throw a left by stepping in towards him as they throw it, that could be a key difference. But he'll also learn how to defend that. And I don't even know if Rempe can throw lefts. He hasn't had to, because everyone has to dictate to his side. Yeah. But if he can throw lefts like his right, the hockey world will be in trouble.
I always say if he learns how to throw a body punch here or there too, it's going to totally. I mean, Amesy always talks about right under that armpit when it's been open. I mean, he's a mutant. He's like an animal. I mean, once he learns that. What other advice, not just for guys of certain heights and stuff, is there a skill? Like a guy, I get hockey guys that come to the boxing gym and they think that's going to make them a better fighter, which, it could help. But what for you is just something that a young guy coming up that wants to play that grit or be ready for if that time comes, what can they do?
Well, it's funny is because this is how I get Jacob to train right now. And so boxing is really good. Judo is really good, especially in stand-up fighting. It's for wrestling for position on grips on your arms and that. Also, just functional development, whether it's running sprints or doing plyos or doing athletic stuff, coordination stuff. And, just when you're downtime, like make sure you're throwing both hands and you get comfortable with both hands and throwing them. Yeah, like it's a huge key.
You don't hear about. You're right. The throwing both hands. In the old days, you would watch. I'd be getting my Rock'em Sock'em VHS, and you'd see Don Cherry would talk about guys switching up and stuff. You're right. You don't really see. That's like kind of an art that you don't see as much. So you're right. I wonder if Rempe could go left. So I guess time will tell. I mean, as a youth hockey coach, now you're in way bigger things and stuff like that. And I deal with it a little bit with the boxing at times. How do you deal with parents? Now, I see a lot of stuff now, especially on social media. Have parents, and I'm trying to remember when I was a young kid playing all sports, not just hockey. Have parents always been nuts, or are we just noticing it more because of the cameras and everything like that? And how do you deal with a parent that's going to be like the helicopter dad or mom? And like, can you explain? I try to explain to parents,
hey, first of all, I couldn't imagine if Jimmy was mad at you.
Well, my dad. My dad would sit in the top row, watch me, wouldn't say boo, wouldn't say good or bad. We get in the car.
Uh-oh.
There's a couple times on North Street where I've gotten dropped off and
run home.
Walk a little bit. He'd come back around, but no. Like, how do you deal with, like, as a coach, right? Because I see it a lot, and it's like,
you gotta bite your tongue.
Yeah,
we have actually a thing in youth hockey, and it's called a 24-hour rule. So if a parent comes in hot at you, you got to call that 24-hour rule. And it's better for both parties. We'll talk again in 24 hours. And actually, it's a great rule. It seems soft, but it works. And
that's a good idea.
It also stops me from reacting because what's in my mind. Like, some of these parents have no clue. Yeah. Like, they're out there like Planet Pluto. Like, it's bizarre. So you don't want to say stuff like that or come off like that, and try to remain humble. And
well, my cousin, my godson Jordan, who's now he's going to be 24. I remember he was a very big time. I mean, played collegiate basketball. Yeah. I would go to a lot of his games, even growing up, middle school games and high level AAU, and just the parents I'd see. Oh. It's like, can you imagine being a teacher this day and age, or a coach? And I deal with the boxing now is like, the parents, you can stay in the gym, but we have like a little lounge area. Just go over there, let us do our thing, and let our coaches do it. Like, how, like you said, I mean, you just hit it on the head. A 24-hour rule, I don't think that's soft at all, because like you said, I mean, you think about the unfortunate things that happen in the heat of the moment. It's just, I mean, I don't know how many parents got the acorns to come to you hot, but I'm sure there are. I mean, it's crazy to think, like, I try to tell young kids today, and parents, like, you could be detrimental to your kid's career.
Big time.
Because, I mean, it's like, you see the kid coming, and it's like, oh, I like the kid, but here comes mom or dad, and it's like, oh my God. It's like, I was so grateful my parents, my mom and dad, they were supportive, but they weren't, they're not kicking down the doors, you know what I mean? I mean,
like, so in minor hockey, dealing with the parents, like, you're stuck with those kids are there no matter what. You get to the junior level, like, I will be coaching, and you don't want this to happen, but if you actually have a parent that's bugging you all the time, and it's crazy, like, you either release or you trade the athlete. Yeah. So parents, you can have an impact on your child, even at the highest levels. It's actually crazy. So, but I don't think there's any those parents that are like that. There's no telling them that they're just going to do what they do. That's how they're rigged up or wired or whatever you call it. So,
and we were just joking about social media. Like, if we were younger, and you're a little older than me, but even when I was younger, I can't imagine. And I don't remember. I mean, I just feel like, I don't know if it's always been this way with the parents and the fans, or it's just more recognized now because someone could get you on the phone. It's just crazy, right? I mean, it's nuts.
Isn't it, like, because when I played in youth hockey, and it's probably the same for you, it was oblivious to me, any of my teammates' parents doing anything.
Yeah.
And, and the right coaches and people, you try not to let the kids be aware of what's going on between the parents. But so you're oblivious when you're a kid, really. And then as you're running boxing or running hockey, you have to directly deal with those. And, like, I try to reason with them. I don't know if it always gets through. But after they make their, they let you know they're upset and they want to talk to you in 24 hours, everything's usually pretty cool, man.
What is the biggest complaint? Playing time?
Yeah, playing time. And, and we have different levels of hockey, too. We have a C stream, which is recreational hockey. And if you want fair play in that, your kid goes there. Okay. And if you want to play, if you're trying to do something in life, or we go to rep level or A level. And, like, it's still, in Hockey Canada, soft, but it's still implemented that we're trying to win at the A level. Yeah. So there's a place where you can go to recreation hockey and you can play for fun, and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Everyone gets a participation medal, and all the kids play equal ice time. And that's just not how it is in Canada at the rep level, the A level and above, AAA, even AA, AAA, and then. But just for me, I did 14 years of minor hockey and dealt with the parents and all that, and. I'm so excited about this new challenge of running a real hockey club, and
You're going to do great. It's going to be great. Like I said, the fall of 2024, the coastal tsunami, I can't wait. I got to get a jersey. Once they're available,
we'll get you one.
I need a jersey. What do you say to any athlete, just not even just a hockey athlete? You played at high-level professional hockey, but any athlete, any kid that's kind of on the fringe, what do they have to do to get to that next level?
Well, I can remember when obviously it was a different era, but just remaining positive with a positive mindset seems to be the toughest thing for these kids nowadays. Like I'll tell you, the hockey players, for sure, they're way more talented than I was or my generation at their age today, but they seem to get thrown off and be a lot weaker minded.
Yeah.
So you gotta remain positive. So if I'm on the team and I'm not getting played, like have good body language. Yeah. Cheer on your teammates and be positive. When I'm a coach and I see that, I'm like, man, it makes me want to get this kid back on the ice.
Yeah.
But when he fucking pouts, I call it poopy pants. You got a poopy pants, man. I don't want to get you back out there.
No, it's true. Attitude. And I tell people, as I get older, I see it too. It's and Diamond Hands, Amesbury talks about it all the time. Just he's big on just the mental toughness. And I just think today, I know I keep using this as an excuse and as a crutch. I think today these kids have so many distractions with social media. All they're seeing is someone else's highlight reel, and they're thinking, why am I not there yet? You know what I mean? And I tell these guys, I'm like, listen, they're not putting up their failures. They're not putting up when they got rocked in the ring. They're going to put on when they rock someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so that's mindset. That's remaining positive and positive thoughtfulness, mindfulness, even when things aren't going your way. I remember getting interviewed, when I broke my leg playing for you guys, and the number one thing to me was it sucks sitting out because you feel like you're not helping your team, but at least my team was doing really good in the standings. And, it makes it that much easier.
But you were present. You were at every game. You were in the locker room. You would talk to guys.
We were on the road, you and I and Jimmy.
My God. Man, we went to Elmira together. It was a snowstorm.
I told you, I don't know if this is a good idea.
So this is I'm so happy you brought this story up. So shortly after Winger, had his leg broken and we decided, and I didn't go to many away games, but we decided, and my dad randomly wanted to go to we went to Elmira where you played, I think the year before, right? I think, or the 2 years before?
Yeah, 2 and 3 years
So you were
prior.
a cult hero out in Elmira. So, you were making it a return. I remember you were on crutches. I was there, my dad, and we watched the game. I remember after the game, I don't know if we won or lost, but did we stay overnight? I think we did. Did we stay overnight in Elmira?
I can't remember.
But I remember my dad.
Maybe we did, yeah.
I think my dad was messing with you.
I think we were roomies, me and you.
Yeah, well, I had to watch out for that gumball machine move. You're lucky I didn't bring the PlayStation. I would have put you in your place. But anyway, we go, and my dad, who's a lot of people don't know what a jokester he can be too. And I remember he's like, "Hey, Winger, where do all the Jackal players hang out?" And you made the mistake of mentioning a bar.
Yeah.
And then I think you knew right away, why did I say that? And you were in the back seat. I think we were both in the back seat. And my dad and it was snowing. I remember it was snowing bad too. And we pulled up to the bar and you're like, Jimmy, no, let's not go. Let's not go. And we ended up not going. But that was a fun road trip. I remember that. I can't believe I forgot about that. I think Elmira was the only place I went to. No, Adirondack we went to a few times, but man, Elmira's still going. They're in the Federal Hockey League too, and but
and what's Adirondack? The ECHL?
They're in the coast. Yeah,
cool.
They got they got two tough guys on that team. I think you would like for this day and age hockey. They got two tough guys on that team that I'm friendly with both of them.
Well, hopefully DH old Diamond Hands gets to play him.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen. DH is like you, where he goes, there's a presence. People are excited to see him. It's gonna come together for him, and I'm so excited watching him out there. And it's funny because Fort Wayne was in our league. You know what I mean? That's where we got Danny Stewart.
That's a good place to play. Big crowds, beautiful renovated arena.
Oh my God! I was watching a Sunday night game on the stream there, and they had like 7,000 people down a Sunday night, 5 o'clock, and then so it was a perfect landing spot for him, and it's all coming together. Current hockey, do you watch? You pay attention to NHL, or who's your team? Are you still a Canuck? Is that your team?
Yeah. I watch hockey. That's all I do, man.
So the Canucks are hot.
They are hot.
That's your team, right?
Yeah,
is that your team?
Yeah, Yeah, I grew up an Edmonton Oilers fan.
I see. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know you were
my dad and mom are from Edmonton. So
Okay.
I grew up like diehard Edmonton Oilers. But then as I got older, I'm from the region, so you gotta love the team where you're from.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, I'm a Oiler fan. I'm a Canucks fan. I even like the Calgary Flames.
So again, I grew up, I became a hockey freak in the 90s as a young kid. There was no internet. I had to read papers and stuff. I became a Devils fan. And then after we lost the team in 06, I just went on a hiatus from hockey. Wasn't paying attention. Netflix comes around, we start filming, I start paying attention more.
Yeah.
I'm a Devil fan. I'm shocked.
I'm a Rangers fan more than a Devils fan.
Well, you do that to hurt me. Why do you have to try to hurt me? I don't understand
I'm
you
just
sometimes.
talking the truth, buddy. I just, Rangers.
Listen, Matt Rempe has really made me question my loyalty sometimes, but I'm a Devil through and through. It doesn't matter. And I had a good run as a kid at Devil.
Yeah,
3 cups, beating you in EA Sports. I mean, it was great. But
hey, just for the record, that is not true. I kicked this guy's ass.
Yeah. He was up with his leg elevated, and I knew he couldn't run after me. So I would talk a lot of trash because
definitely talked a lot of trash.
I did. Talking trash, it's the same. But who do you like this year? I mean, there's still a long way to go. And who are you got someone in mind that you're watching? I mean, I saw Boston just traded for that Pat Maroon kid, who I think gives him a little grit.
Gives him some grit. I wonder what's going on with Lucic out there. I know he got off on whatever legal problems he had, so I wonder if he's coming back or.
I think it might be a wash this year, and see what goes into next year. And but I don't know. I like I said, I don't like to talk too much NHL because I'm still learning the game now. I'm still learning who's what. And
so I think generally the better teams are coming out of the East, but Vegas won it last year, and I'm a big Vegas guy since they came in.
Yeah.
I think they've done a great job. Got to like the Kraken, even though they're geographically very close to Vancouver. I like Vancouver. The Edmonton Oilers really turned things around, and so it's great to see them. And I'd like to see someone from Canada, a Canadian team, battling for the cup. It would be nice.
One thing I did notice the past few seasons, kind of getting reacclimated to the game and hockey and the NHL, is the Golden Knights just seem to be a team that once they get into the playoffs, they turn it up. You know what I mean? They just seem to have that switch. So we'll see. I mean,
though they're winning hockey games by being big and heavy. No one wants to play dump and chase anymore. But you watch the Vegas Knights on their Stanley Cup run. They're whatever you want to call it, a chip, a deposit, or a dump. The puck goes in and they run the bejesus out of you.
Yeah.
With physicality, they turn pucks over and then they buzz in the offensive zone.
Yeah.
They get pucks to the point, they get guys to the net front, and it's standard hockey. But no one likes to play dump and chase. So
I've always said, I mean, I don't think, listen, things evolve in life, but I just think there's certain things that just stay intact. Like you said, to win playoff series, it's that, you know what I mean? I mean, in my opinion, and
big and heavy.
Yeah. I mean, and you've been there, done that. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting the rest of the way. And listen, I put out yesterday on social media, I put a nice picture of you. You were there with your Nike helmet. It looked awesome.
I liked it.
And I said, ask Brad Wingfield a question. I got 5 questions for you.
Oh, boy.
Okay, I had probably 100 questions, and
I'll do as many as I can.
Weirdly, a bunch of people asked some personal questions about you and a bodily anatomy. I'm not getting into that. It was really weird. More than one person, but
all right.
I got from @FrogLasso on Instagram. What is your favorite memory as a Danbury Trasher? Yeah,
my favorite memory. Good one. I just think the entire experience of being a Trasher, it was awesome. Just, I think playing the home games though, and unfortunately I wasn't involved in it, neither the playoff runs. So that would probably be my highlight. But just with that small capacity crowd at the Danbury Arena and the electricity to it, those are the memories. Hanging out with you and Jimmy and the players, and we used to have Sunday dinners at your house, the whole team.
Yeah,
John Morlang would say grace.
Yeah, that's right. We had Thanksgiving. That whole Thanksgiving. Yeah,
and we went to, your dad took us to the Giants game. You and your dad, and on the team bus and stuff like that, and just being part of the Trashers out here, and back in 04 during that lockout. It was just awesome just to be around, and obviously the Trashers weren't around a long time, so I would say my biggest memory was the whole thing.
Yeah,
I just wish I played more games.
It's hard to, like you said, it's hard to peg a moment because people ask me that stuff all the time, and I'm like, I don't know. It's really hard to pick a moment, but no, I agree with you. That it's just like we blinked and it was done, but that. Before we blinked, there was so much in that. So much was packed in such a little time, you know.
Well, I guess was something to do off the ice with the Trashers is Sarah and I's son Jacob was born here.
Yeah,
and that was thanks to the Galante family. And one thing that I don't think people understand is that although we had medical coverage down here, we didn't have medical coverage through the league and through the team to have pregnancies and babies. And I was so scared to go ask your dad and. Sarah was like, "You got to ask him. You got to ask him." And I remember getting the courage to ask your dad. I'm like, "Hey, Jimmy, I'd really like to be like my son to be born here and have the opportunity to be an American." But you go, what's stopping you? And I was like, I cringed. I was like, X and X amount of money.
Yeah.
Because it costs money.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not cheap. And he looked at me and smiled a smile, and he gave me 2 pats on the back and said, "Don't worry about it. I got you."
Yeah.
And, that's probably the biggest memory for me was you guys, the Galantes and the Trashers, having my son born here, mine and Sarah's son.
I know. I can't wait for him to come back. It's in his blood, literally. So he's a Danbury boy.
He's born. He bleeds blue, black, and silver.
Oh man, another question. I love asking this question because I asked Amesy the same thing.
Oh boy,
hardest you've ever been hit?
Yeah, are we talking body checks? Are we talking punches?
Either or both.
Oh man, Joel Terrio, body check. One of my last year in St. George, I didn't see him coming. In big, tough man, Joel the Animal Terrio.
He's a big boy.
And I had my head down. I was digging for the puck in front of the net. It was a clean hit, and he leveled me. And I remember I got up to what the hell him. And he's yelling, "It was a clean hit, Wingnut. It was a clean hit." And I was like, fair enough, that was clean, and my clock is clean. So probably that one. I can remember being hit hard with punches. I can remember I've been knocked out before in fights, and not real bad where I was left laying there a long time.
One thing about you, and I remember, during the Trasher days, there wasn't YouTube or anything, so. Nowadays, you could go on a guy and see every fight he's ever had. But one thing about you is you were very crafty. Like defensively, you definitely were defensively responsible. They use that term in boxing. Sure. You definitely had some good defense.
Absolutely. I just go, I was really strong too and technical, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. Where even John, our buddy, Nasty Morasti, they just punch in the face contest. And, anyone can win one of those. I want to draw the guy into deep waters and see
like a shark, man.
See how good he is and see if he knows what I know. And I actually had a fighting system. So if you'll believe that, it's crazy. That become automatic to me, and I could do it off either setup, left-handed or right-handed. So depending on whether I knew what hand he was, like his strong side. So I had a system.
It makes perfect sense. I talked to, Diamond Hands has taught me, because he is a very smart fighter.
I saw him training, and he uses the switch grips, and that's what I was doing.
And the thing, and that's why you guys are so alike, because he really...
Cross grip.
He'll tell you, I know the minute that I could tell, however that guy looks, I know what I got to do. You're right. And a lot of people don't realize all that stuff that goes into it. Another question, from @2AZEIG. Favorite teammate of all time?
Yeah. Wow.
That's got to be hard.
That's lots of them, and kind of catching me off guard with that one too. But one guy I can remember I got along super well with in Danbury. That was it just seemed like we were brothers. Was Rumen Ender.
Oh yeah. Love Rumen.
And obviously eventually I became really good friends with John Morasti. Maybe we weren't so friendly at the start, but I don't know why, but he's a great friend of mine, but he also wasn't here that long, maybe.
Yeah, he basically came in after you got hurt and spent the rest of the year and then a little bit of the second year too, I believe.
Yeah, and then he took off pretty quick.
And then he
liked Gillies.
He was just And same thing, he had so many opportunities, and we're never gonna hold a guy back. If there's something there, you got to do, you got to do what's best for the guy, even if it's not technically with you.
Yeah. So I would say Ender and Morasti, but they there's probably guys I forget about. I don't mean to forget you guys. I had a lot.
You played a long year. You played a long career.
I had a lot of great teammates. And, is that question based just on Trashers, I hope?
Well, we'll just make it a favorite Trasher teammate.
I'll throw a guy out there that you would love, and he's a boxing genius, and he's also an MMA fighter and fought in Strikeforce, and he's one of my best friends ever. His name's Jeff Bumstead.
I've heard you talk about him.
Yeah, he's a killer dude, and he wasn't here in Danbury. That's why I don't mention him. But
I remember you telling me about him before. Yeah. I've heard that name before.
So he's about the same size as Morasti, about that height, but unbelievable fighter. And he went on to be the toughest guy in the Western Professional Hockey League. And he says to me, well, I think I'm going to win the scoring title next year. And I'm like, oh, okay, there, bummer. And then, shit, you not? 122 points, he wins the scoring title the next year. And then, that guy had 5 straight main camp tryouts with the Edmonton Oilers.
Wow.
And then once he quit pretty early, about 28, he went on to sign a 5-fight deal, with Strikeforce.
Wow, yeah.
And what is there's an MMA website like
Sure Dog.
Sure Dog. He's on there. Jeff Geoff Bumstead. So
I'm gonna look him up. I remember you telling me stories about Sean Legault.
Yeah, Sean Legault. I mean, just so many guy, Matt Sharuga.
I mean, so many guys. Whether you played with him or not, you used to tell me a lot about Frank Littlejohn. I don't think you played with him, right?
No, I played against Littlejohn, but another couple guys are 2 brothers I played with, Matt and Quentin Van Horlick, and they're from Western Canada too, and tough as nails, the 2 of them.
So the toughest guys come from Western Canada. That's what you taught me, right?
Hands down. Yeah.
Man. That's a debate I get sometimes.
Yeah. If you're not sure, just go with Western Canadians. Like I'm shit you not.
Well, you always taught me that. And next question. Okay, at original_Jessler. How was your time in the UK with Bracknell? Was that the Bees?
Yeah,
the
Bracknell Bees. Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome.
Was that after Trashers in the UK?
No, before.
Or before, okay.
I wish I stayed longer there, and I had a great coach that I still work with today, and his name's Ennio Sacciolotto. Satch, man, coach mentor to me, one of my favorite coaches I ever had, one of the smartest guys I know, hockey guys. It was so funny, he's coached all over, this guy. And but he never, he coached in the BC Hockey League in junior and then national teams and lots of European. But in the UK, it's the only league that plays a North American style where they fight.
Yeah.
And so I remember a guy like their tougher guys elbowed one of her scorers, and I'm looking at the coach, and he's not doing nothing. Hey, I yell, hey, Satch, what the fuck? He's like, oh, Winger, do you gotta go do your job? I'm like, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead. And that was a breath of fresh air for me, because you get some of these other coaches that are sending you out there all the time. Like, first off, I don't need you to tell me when to go out there. Okay, and you've never been in a fight in the sandbox before, so you shut your pie hole. But the coach, it's nice to see a coach with you got to tell him, and then he's like, oh, absolutely,
yeah, do your thing. Yeah.
So and Coach Ennio Satch, he coaches with Chris Shaw and Ryan Hallwig at Burnaby Winter Club Academy in the CSSHL, which is a really big academy league where they draft all the Western League drafts all their players. So shout out to him.
I heard that the UK crowds are insane. Yeah, like I heard that it is, I got a buddy who has a big podcast called 4,000 and Counting, a good friend of mine. And I've been dying to go out there because I think Stewie is, Danny Stewie is a coach.
He is. Stewie.
And I hear about this league in the UK, how much fun, it's like soccer. You know what I mean? You see the crowds.
It's true. They sing and get the chants going.
Oh,
And,
that sounds like a cool experience.
Big crowds. Like you go to the Odyssey in Belfast, Ireland, and there's 10,000 people there. And
my God.
Sheffield and Nottingham.
And they appreciate the toughness. I mean, they appreciate it.
That's a tough place, UK.
Now, our last question is from @PatMags. This is probably the best question I received. Is Josh Elzinga on your Christmas list?
Josh Elzinga. No, he's not. He's not. If I was a guy.
I had to mess with you.
Yeah,
I had to mess with you.
You got me on that one. Well, I don't know what to say.
For those who don't know, Josh Elzinger was a young player for the Kalamazoo Wings in the UHL who broke Mr. Wingfield's leg after declining to fight him. I remember seeing it. We don't have to go into all the details. Watch Netflix Untold Crime and Penalties. You'll see why that question is pretty funny. But is there ever a chance to mend that bridge?
Yeah, absolutely. We could. He could come up to Champs, and I could fly over, and we could go at it in the ring, and just call it good after that.
I think
MMA are boxing rules.
I think that, as I've gotten older, I've gotten, because I was a young, wild kid myself, and I'm a little more peaceful now. How can we mend? I think, could we set up at one of my amateur boxing events with headgears, okay?
Or without.
All right, well, exhibition, we could figure that. We
8-ounce gloves at the biggest, and no 16-ounce stuff.
I think we can mend this bridge, and by doing that the old school way, and maybe for charity of your choice, maybe at one of my sanctioned, by the way, boxing events, maybe that happens one day.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
It is on my end.
I'll have to talk to Josh. Josh and I actually connected on Instagram recently. It was the first time I saw him, talked to him in 20 years.
I'll hate you later.
No, where my loyalty stands. Stop it. But I'm telling you that I feel like we can mend this bridge. And I think we could do good with it for a charity or something. Josh, we'll have to talk. I got the promoter cap on. But more importantly, I care about my brother Wingfield, and I hope we could take this baggage and leave it in 2004.
Yeah, hey, you know what? Like, obviously, I don't think the guy meant to do what he did. Does he need to pay a bit of a price? Yeah, but you got to think this guy still has his life and his family and all that. And it's a good story, but I think people should back off the guy and just let it be.
Yeah, I mean, I showed you that one guy on Instagram who unfortunately lives in your area. This man is named Josh Elzinger. And this poor guy reached out to me, and I saw in his bio, in his Instagram profile, it says, not the Josh that broke Brad Wingfield's leg. That had to be one of the funniest things I ever saw in my life.
Yeah, well, he's probably within the 3-hour reach of me, so I would be sending that if I was him too.
Oh, man. You know what? This is one of those to-be-continued discussions. But you know where my loyalty stands.
No, I know.
But you know what? It's crazy to think that it's been this year.
Yeah.
April 1st of this year will be the 20-year anniversary of announcing this team, which is that weird or what? 20 years. Yeah. And it's unreal to me that here we are. More people know about this team than ever. Like I said, I mean, it's crazy. And we probably should have started this podcast off. The reason Brad is here.
Yeah.
Which I love that he's here, and I wish we could see more of each other in person. And where we are recording this is tomorrow night.
Yeah.
You are being honored at the Danbury Arena at the Danbury Hat-Tricks game. You are going to be inducted into the Danbury Hockey Ring of Honor. How great is that?
Yeah. I've never had anything like that, and it's just
people are so excited. Like I got people that weren't even Trasher fans. Like they saw the doc and they're like, Winger's going to actually be there? I'm like, yeah, he's going to be there. I mean, people are so pumped to see you. And, I cannot wait. We're going to get footage from tomorrow and put that out as well. So you guys, after watching this pod, you can go on YouTube and check out, the footage. It's well-deserved. Well, I mean, I'm just so proud of you. And I can't wait for tomorrow night. It's going to be fun, man.
Yeah,
you're gonna be there. That Brad
I'm
Wingfield.
I'm gonna be there. I'm so looking forward to it. And
fans, I'm telling you, the fans have been tweaking out. They've been messaging. Are you sure he's coming? I'm like, yes, I'm positive he's coming. Believe me, he's coming.
I'm here.
But
I'm excited.
I mean, it's an event because let's face it. I mean, other than coming to film the documentary back in 2019,
August 2019.
I mean, you hadn't been in Danbury and since 06 maybe 05.
Yeah, 06.
So this is gonna be a thrill for people. I am, listen, this is very unprofessional of me. I'm going to put my headphones down for a minute because there is a gift I have to give you. So hold on one second. Maybe you could sing or something to keep the stuff going, but I have for you.
Uh-oh. What do we got? Oh, no way. Are you kidding me?
So our buddy, Sean McMorrow, the sheriff, his brother-in-law, Danny Granger.
Yeah, I know Danny. I met him.
One of the most talented artists I know.
Yeah.
And when he found out you were going into the Ring of Honor, he said, AJ, I got to send you something for Winger. So he made this canvas, okay, for you. And those who are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, go on our YouTube to check this out. He made this for you.
Oh, wow.
And I absolutely love it. So this is for you from the great Danny Granger up there in Toronto. What a canvas that is. That is, look at that guy.
Danny even made me look good on here.
You look great. I'm gonna put it on the camera. Let me show you. This is an unbelievable. I'm gonna throw up Danny Granger's Instagram. You got to check him out. He does unbelievable work. But when he heard the news, when I posted, he's like, "I'm sending this to you tomorrow," and he wanted to gift this to you.
Wow.
And Winger, this is almost an hour and a half talking. It felt like 10 minutes. We have to do this again. We're going to have to figure out how to have you even remotely on more with us. Yeah. We got to stay on track. Coastal Tsunami. Guys, if you're interested, we're going to put more details out how you could get involved with the Tsunami. Put up all their Instagram and stuff. We're going to be, tracking you guys, obviously. And you were the best. I love you. Yeah. And I don't know what else it is to say. Actually, you do have a hat. I want you to show that. You showed me this. Yeah. This is the original Danbury Trashers. Now, I call that a winter hat. Do you guys call that a toque?
A toque.
You guys with the toques.
Yeah, here, I'll throw it on. Toque.
Amesy told me about a toque. I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. I call that a winter hat, but it's a toque. That's what you're telling me? It looks good. It's still in good shape. That is the original player. Like we assigned, we gave those to players. The original Danbury Trasher toque.
We got them in our player packages.
Yeah, so. They were winter hats. I don't know about toque. I can't get on the toque bandwagon. So, guys, like and subscribe. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Make sure you're following Wing Kong over here. Coastal Tsunami. This has been an unbelievable episode.
Hey, at official Wing Kong 42. At
official Wing Kong 42 on Instagram. We're gonna post all these things. His son, all of them. We're gonna, if you
Coastal Tsunami.
Listen, we kind of unofficially call our fans the fourth line boys and girls, the fourth liners. Okay, we got to support. We got to keep it going. This won't be the last time we see Winger here, and stay tuned next week. Amesy is back, and we'll catch up with him, seeing what he's got going on at Fort Wayne. Hopefully not suspended or anything, and we'll catch you guys next week.